Hello, and thanks for joining me on the trail today. Today, my daily walk is on the Heart of Ohio Trail, and I'm heading into the village of Centerburg. What I thought I'd talk about today is front door and how front doors relate to trails, people along the trails, and towns along the trail. And I'm going to start with some analogies. I think we've all watched enough HGTV or have had personal experience in selling or buying a home. And one message that comes across loud and clear in that process is it's about the front door. The front door is the first impression, right? So whether you have a wreath on it and a really nice welcome mat, it's painted fresh and clean, that first impression means a lot to people walking through that door. The same applies to when you're out window shopping. Think about when you've been on vacation and you're walking down that street of retail gift shops and they all want you to come in, right? And so what draws you in? What draws you in is what's in their window display. And somehow it tells something about what's in that store. You know, it's typically not something from, say, Walmart or Target. It's something unique. And a savvy storekeeper knows the importance of that, and his window display invites you to walk in the door. And finally, think about when you were out looking for a job and you went on that interview. First impressions mean a lot, right? I'm not quite sure of the real statistic, but I know that within a few minutes, the person interviewing you has pretty well sized you up and has made a decision whether he is going to invite you through the door and join the company. So what I'm going to do today, I'm going to ask 5 questions about front doors and how they relate to trails and trails communities. And I invite you to think about that and answer it if you're a person in one of these communities, a trail advocate in a community, a person on a trail board, or really just a trail visitor. And the end result, I want you to think about, of these 5 questions I pose, what was most important to get you to go through that town's front door? All right, here we go. So how do you say stop and take a photo? And what that's about is just about any community I've visited, whether they're large or small, there's something unique about them. I'm on a rail trail here, so a lot of times the artifacts of a rail trail, a station that's been restored or even not restored, even torn down. There's a great story about stations that once stood, buildings, and straight ahead you see this town has a pretty prominent grain silos. So you don't have a lot of control, obviously, on those buildings. They're there, but it's up to you to tell that story. So how do you do that? And there are a variety of ways, and some of those ways probably already exist in your community. There's maybe a memorial, there's maybe a signboard that said this is what this is, and so forth, and this is how it was so important to this town. They also make great canvases for trail art. I can tell you that on a trail that I cycle regularly, the TJ Evans Trail, the village of Granville at its trailhead has a spectacular mural that says, "Welcome to Granville." It's a really good way of highlighting those buildings along the trail. The next point I'd like to talk about is, in the question I want to ask you, what's in your front window? In other words, let's look inside that building and talk about what's inside the window. And what I mean by there is who lived here, what happened here, what is interesting about this place? What's the town's claim to fame? Every town has a claim to fame. This town here happens to be the geographical center of Ohio. Every small town in Ohio has a pretty interesting, unique story. So, in other words, highlight what happened inside these buildings and the people who made these buildings what they are and the importance they had to the community. How do you do that? Again, murals, photo boards, history boards, plaques, they all say and tell that story. Question number 3, how is your trailhead an invitation to come in and sit a spell? That's all about trail amenities. When a person is either hiking or biking, they have a variety of options of places to stop. The typical person can't just stop everywhere. There has to be something for them to put on the brakes and stop. And probably the best thing to do that is a trailside amenity with benches, bike repair stations, and restrooms. We just walked past the Centerburg Welcome Center, which had a bike repair station, benches, and a sign. Also, people will stop if your front door, just like if they were looking for a home, they're going to stop by and sit a spell if it's clean, if the landscaping is inviting and attractive, if there are flowers. How do you get this done? That's a partnership with everybody. Trail organizations often spearhead an effort, but it also lies on the towns to help provide amenities. And I have seen many citizen-led initiatives that bring trail amenities to the town. Question number 4, how do you say welcome? Well, the obvious answer to that is welcome signs. In other words, welcome to Centerburg here. Directional signs saying, here's where the bathrooms are. Here's where the library is where you can get free internet. Here's where shopping is. And here's where you can get food. Everybody loves to know where the ice cream parlor is. Beyond that, something a little more challenging to work on is the culture of welcoming visitors. In other words, what do the interactions with people on your trail look like? How do you greet visitors? How do you tell them they're welcome? And you can do that in a variety of ways. It basically lies on everybody, again, to work on that. And I have found that almost all communities that I have been in have been welcoming to visitors. Here's an easy little technique. Put out a cooler with free water in it. On a hot day, that goes a long way. My final question is, how do you sell your town? Just like somebody's selling themselves in a job interview, or merchants selling merchandise and selling an idea, concept to get you through the doors. And finally, when you're selling that house, what closes the deal? And for trails, I say it's social media. Be very active on Facebook and Instagram and tell your stories. Be active and constantly promote your town. Promote what you have to offer. Work with the businesses, restaurants, and so forth in your town. Get them to actively promote the business to their trail. And this is a case where everybody becomes an influencer. Influencers seem to be the driving force for a lot of the economy today. So if you can make more people in your community an influencer, that's a win. And here's a tip that I think works very well that people underutilize is tell visitors stories. What I mean with that is get off your butt, get out and on the trail, and your priority doing it when you're walking or biking, stop and talk to a visitor. And people love to tell their stories and listen to those stories. Ask if they will let you take a picture and share. And I can almost guarantee you they're going to say, yeah, go ahead and share my story. And they love that. Your social media audience loves that. It's a win for all. So it's very important to know that you should use your social media as an invitation to come inside and enjoy. So those are my 5 questions I'd like you to think about today. And if you enjoyed this video, I encourage you to head on over to the Ohio to Erie Trail website, where you will see my past videos. At the same time, we record these and put them on YouTube, so you can go to the Ohio to Erie Trail YouTube channel and subscribe or just view them. I also write, and I generally post these videos on my Substack, where I write as Tom on the Trails. So thanks for enjoying me today, and don't forget, make everybody visitor welcome and walk inside the doors along the trail. Happy trails, Tom on the Trails.